Chase, it's a Thursday night. It's actually the 13th. Happy Valentine's Day Eve to you. We are recording on a Thursday because I'm sick, if you couldn't tell by my voice. But we had a state of play this week, and that means we get to do the elusive what you've been state of playing, which is one of my favorite things we get to do here. And we get to tell you about the video games for episode 411. We have the info tonight, Chase, for all the people, and we're going to be letting them know what's good here on the casual hour. So I'm Bobby. That's Chase. How's life?
Just making sure I'm coming in fine. On the
Are you good?
thing. I'm a little quiet. Could you bump
You're a
me
little
just
quiet?
touch? That'd be nice.
Talk.
That would be helpful to be bumped. Love good.
I bumped you there, and let me give you just a little extra juice on the back end, which I know you like.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
okay.
I think that probably works.
Happy episode 411, Chase.
Yeah. What is the 411, Bobby?
Nothing good.
Yeah.
Well, that's not fair. There's some good stuff. I mean, there's a lot of bad, but
it's funny that PlayStation was having like a state of play when the state of PSN was that you couldn't play it.
Yeah, you could not play it. It was one of those situations where I felt terrible. So we have Skiba, who's been coming around chat and hanging out with us. They actually, I got connected with them on Blue Sky through some Monster Hunter stuff. And when I was streaming Monster Hunter on Friday, they were in chat and they were just like, oh yeah, PSN's down. That's where I play. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like everybody who, especially for Sony, but it really was interesting because I saw a little bit more about like, oh yeah, I can't even play this game because it can't ping into the network. I'm like, that's fucking stupid. Not great. Not great at all. But we're going to talk about the state of play, which happened on the 12th of February, and it was a pretty stacked event. I think
there were a lot of really cool games in there. Yeah,
there really were.
Surprised. They gave no real indication of what they were going to be talking about. I think they just said, "Hey, it's a 40-minute show. We'll see you then." And there were a couple of leaks I saw that came out like right before it went on. I remember I told you specifically, like, "Hey, I'm in a meeting during this state of play, but I did see that this leak came out, so I'm real excited." And I got to be very excited. It was great.
But you know what?
But yeah,
still sucks to be a Bloodborne fan.
Well, of course, Bloodborne fans, like the Hollow Knight fans, can get fucked because that's how these companies feel about you, apparently.
Could you imagine living in a world where, what was the game that got announced for a remake? Days Gone gets a remake before.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, no, remaster.
Let's
not go crazy, but yes, we're remastering another game that looks just fine. And also, the looks are not the problem with that video game.
No, absolutely not. Sorry, I'm just trying to get something pulled up over here. But yeah, we're gonna break that down. We're gonna talk a bit about what our hot takes are from that, and then we're also going to be giving you a rundown of Kingdom Come Deliverance II, a game about digging a hole. And Chase, what is this? Seguro Quest Diced Heroes, correct?
That's what it's called.
Let's start with a game about digging a hole. How about that?
I have seen some skeets about digging a hole. What's up with this? Are you your Shia LaBeouf simulator?
I'm tired of this, Grandpa. That's too damn bad. No, all right. So this is a $5 video game. It is made by Cyberwave, and it's put out by Rockaplay. Cyberwave might stand out. They have a game Solarpunk. That's the game that's coming out this year, and I feel this is kind of getting people on board for that game. But a game about digging a hole is probably the best named video game you can get, because that's what this is.
Most descriptive, yeah.
The way I would pitch this to you, Chase, is what if like a sim game, like your tabletop trading card game simulator, your power wash simulator, your gas station simulator, all those things mixed with SteamWorld Dig 2, or SteamWorld Dig for that matter, where the idea is that you dig down as far as you can to get resources you take back up and sell to buy new shit. And that's what this is. It is you buy a house that says, hey, there's treasure somewhere here. Buy the house, find the treasure. You go in your backyard, you start digging a hole. You go down, you find rocks, stones, then you find coal, then you can find silver, then you can find gold, then you can find diamonds. And there's some other stuff that you'll find along the way. But this is a $5 video game that will take you like 4 hours to beat. And there's just something nice about this game.
Whoa. Beat. What is beating this video game? Okay, actually, no. Let me ask this. I guess potential spoilers. I don't know them, but Bobby.
Yes.
I have two potential ideas of how this game ends.
Let's hear them.
One of them is digging into the core and dying a horrible death, and the other is you come out the other side and you're at China.
So you don't Yosemite Sam this, but you do have capabilities of running into hazards, let's say, when you're digging. Mm-hmm. And you can die. They actually tell you right at the beginning, if your battery runs out, this thing's going to blow up. And you are managing just a few things on it. You do have a health bar, you have a battery, and then you have inventory. And so those are the things that you're upgrading. You have a jetpack also that you can upgrade, and you can literally just go straight up through the hole when you're down there. Mm-hmm. So like I've played a lot of Minecraft, and one of the rules you learn early on in Minecraft is you never dig straight down. And I've been digging kind of in a spiral pattern, so I have a way to get back up without utilizing all the battery stuff. But man, there's something really cool about just sitting around digging. And I got to tell you, it's been a cathartic experience. I think it's priced really well for what it is. I kind of wish it was priced higher and it had more stuff to do. So it seems like people are really enjoying this, and it's kind of become this like overnight sensation. As you were mentioning,
how would you compare this to what was it called? Was it Pineapple on Pizza?
Oh, this is far more competent than Pineapple on Pizza.
Yeah.
Like there's an actual
but Pineapple on Pizza was free, wasn't it?
No, I don't know. That's a great question. I think it costs money. Okay. But
I can look it up. But
this is I haven't beaten this yet, but I've gotten pretty far into it, and I'm enjoying it. Like it is. I say this like kindly, but it just looks like the pick a thing from the Unreal Engine catalog of things and put them together into a video game. Totally. Like it's one of those.
Pineapple on Pizza is free, but the soundtrack is 99 cents.
Oh, cool. So, the one thing I wish I would have known earlier is on PC, if you're playing with a mouse, you have to click every time you use your shovel. But if you play on a controller, I found out today you can actually just hold the button and not have to click.
Look at that tech.
So this
console game superior.
Yes. So I've been digging a hole, but what I've really been spending my time with, and what I want to talk to you a little bit more in depth about, is Kingdom Come Deliverance II.
Sure.
I never played the first one, Chase. This is put out by Warhorse Studios, published by Deep Silver. It'll set you back a whopping 60 bones. This is a fascinating video game, and I have fallen very hard for it. It's a collection of systems that should not be anything I want to play. I'm just going to say that right now. And the time period, like this sucks. Like this life back then sucked.
I don't know, man. Elon Musk didn't live in those times, so you take
Daddy Musk. It's really, so you're continuing the story as Henry, and they've done a pretty good job of like letting me know who Henry is and kind of what he was up to. I don't have all the inside joke stuff that, when you encounter somebody from the previous game that has a relationship there. But let me start with this. Like, what is your understanding and knowledge of Kingdom Come?
I feel like I don't know a lot. We talked about it during the preview. The first game had some controversy around it when it came to like black people and had some cultural backlash stuff on both sides, with some rabid defenders who were not people you necessarily want defending your game. And I'm not saying that the developer is part of that. In fact, I think they tried to get away from that, while also not saying this is like, we're not trying to make a woke game. We're trying to make a historical game.
Yeah.
And I know this game, from what I've heard from people, actually is a lot more diverse. But the developer is talking about how, you know, the last game was in the countryside. This one is more about being in a city, and in a city, especially around these times, that's where you're going to find the more melting pot of different kinds of people.
Totally.
So I know about that. It's this is a first person medieval game. Are these big? Are these like big multiplayer fights that is going on, or is this a single player game?
Single player game, very much a single player game. I would say like.
I think what's the other one I'm thinking of then? Like
I think you're thinking of For Honor.
No, that I'm thinking of like one that is like a big multiplayer thing, and For Honor is third person. Like there's like a I want to say Mardu, but that's a Magic the Gathering.
Was it? I know, Chivalry.
Yeah, Chivalry. Man, I'm still thinking there's like another one out there that's like that, but yeah, Chivalry is probably closer to what I'm thinking.
No, dude, this is a narrative heavy, choices matter RPG. You are absolutely role playing the shit out of this game. You are getting points that you can use to upgrade and do things.
Mordhau is the game I was thinking of. But yes,
okay.
Chivalry is also in that
vein. So yeah, man, this is taking place 15th century medieval Europe, and I did see a guy that was going around and actually visiting runes that are places you go in the game. Like he did like a whole little Instagram story of it, and I thought that was really cool. But what's fascinating about this game, man, and I think what's really hooking me on it is this is a cozy game for me. This is a cozy game, I think, for a lot of people, where the fast traveling and just like
the medieval times was very cozy for most people. So that makes sense.
I don't think it's very cozy in that sense, but it's a gorgeous game, and you obviously have a lot of downtime in 15th century Europe where you get to everything is so fucking obtuse and convoluted and hard to do, but it works really well. Like if you need to shoot somebody with a bow, there's like a 30 to 45 second animation to load a bolt onto it, and then you can shoot them. But I've gotten into a shootout 10 yards away from somebody, and we're just both trying to load as fast as we could to hit one another. But I think it's a game that rewards curiosity in the best way possible. And there's multiple ways to accomplish any objective. I am not even out of Act 1, and I think I have like almost 30 hours into the game because I've just been chasing all these really like in-depth, incredibly well acted, incredibly well written, very deep stories of just like going down these rabbit holes and how you can get information to like play against other people. Like you can be a little asshole and pickpocket and steal your way through this and get blackmailing material to do shit on people to get what you're looking for, or you can be a bit more altruistic.
I mean, is this like Fallout levels of like playing both sides and like branching path kind of stuff?
Absolutely. There was a situation, so I love that you brought up that, because I think that's a really great way to look at this game. But I'll give you an example of just how much fun I've had with the story. So I met this guy who had his front teeth knocked out, and he'd been getting into fisticuffs with people from this neighboring town where they had just a good old-fashioned small town rivalry. And I grew up in one of these where you did some pranks between the towns, like, and it was usually stuff like go and paint the statue red or do something stupid like that to get on somebody's nerve. This one town, everybody would fucking talk your ear off about their fucking maypole. And this guy knew they loved it. He's like, he couldn't talk. And so even when they write out his dialogue, like any of his S's were F's because he didn't have teeth.
Sure.
And so he's like, I want you to go get that maypole from over there and take care of the thing for me. Like he's going through this whole bit. And I'm like, all right, I'll get it. But he's like, you got to do it at night. I don't want you to hurt anybody. So I had to shimmy up this pole at night, and I stole their maypole and I brought it over to him. And he thought it was the funniest thing. And he's like, this isn't enough. Like, we're really going to get after him now. I'm like, God, okay. Like, I thought we were doing it here. I stole their maypole. Like, what's next? He's like, you notice how they're doing all that laundry out there? I'm like, yeah, for sure. I see them doing the laundry. I want you to run their sheep over their freshly washed laundry. That'll really teach them.
That'll really get them.
And then make the sheep run out into the woods for a bit to make them go find them. I'm like, done. Well, this led into a situation where I had to the bailiff's getting involved. He's like, what are you doing? These towns are going about it. He's like, I want you to go and basically like get rid of one of them. I'm like, I don't want to do that. They're both harmless. This is just a prank.
Get rid of a whole town, you mean?
A group of people that were kind of instigating from both sides.
I see. Okay.
So I ended up creating this little parlay on my own by going and researching, finding deeds and all this shit. Because what I ended up having to do was this whole thing started over a boundary line between the towns. And I found in the bailiff's office, he forbid me from reading books. So I had to break in. I read this book. I got the knowledge. I went out and it said there's a nail in a tree that defines the property line. And they give you like no clue. So I'm out there wandering around, fucking rain, pigs, wolves everywhere, covered in mud, trying to figure this thing out. I find the boundary line and I bring them out there and I point to the tree. I'm like, this is where you all belong. This is where you belong. And I completely resolved this, but I could have easily just
a 2-state solution in this day and
solution.
age. Incredible.
But
we need to get you over there, Bobby.
I'm telling you. But the combat and stuff is it's very interesting. Like you can be over encumbered and like everything takes terribly long. Like you can walk into a town and if you've been fighting or doing things, you're going to be covered in blood and shit. And they're gonna be like, you are gross, you smell. That's the other thing. Like if you haven't showered or washed up and you're trying to stealth it, people are like, God, what's that smell? like
how, so with all these kind of systems in there, how the thing that worries me is how survival gamey is this? Like, do you have to eat and drink? Like the idea of having to like bathe.
Yeah, like you do have that stuff. Like you do need to eat food. You do have hunger, but it's done in the cool way. Like it's not where it's the thing where you're going to run out of oxygen or you have to I don't have to monitor it too much, but I really appreciate the game's fast travel because there's nothing fast back then. And what you'll see is they do this little like board game look of your character when you're fast traveling, and it will deplete your sleep. It will deplete your food. And if you have those things down, like it is going to have negative impacts on like how you fight and do that. But I have not found it difficult. Actually, one of my favorite things to do, Chase, I'm glad you brought this up. I have a whole little character arc. I steal soup. That's what I do.
Okay. Sure.
At nighttime when I need food,
you're the Broth Bandit.
That's me, Bobby, the Broth Bandit. I break into people's homes and I slurp their soup without them knowing. And I've gotten caught slurping soup a few times and it never turns out well for anybody involved. But that is my thing. Like that's kind of like the sticky bandits. Like if I go and do something like for you, I'm going to come back and steal your soup later on. But every now and again, I'll have a barmaid throw me a sausage and that's been okay too. But the cool thing is there's like a chance thing that happens when you fast travel. And it's like, hey, you came across a camp on the side of the road. There's 3 people here. They don't look so friendly. You have a 30% chance to avoid it or you're going to have to go up to it. And so you'll get into these little situations where it's like, hey, there's a person here. They look a little bit like they're trying to sell something. And you find a really cool traveling merchant and you can stop and engage with it. You don't have to fast travel. The save system's rough. They actually tie saving to a schnapps. So if you brew schnapps, you can use that to do a manual save. Otherwise, you only save when you sleep or when you quit the game. And I have lost hours of progress because of that.
I understand that people like that, but that's an immediate turnoff for me.
Yeah, it's created situations though where I think they're trying to avoid like significant save scumming because there are choices. And like the last thing I'll say, because I could talk forever about how much I'm enjoying this game, I do steal. The way I play games like this, I play it as good as I can unless I see something that will help me be better. And if I see something that will help me be better, I will find a way to take it. That could be your horse, that could be your soup, that could be your armor. If I see you all on the streets and nobody else is around, I might flag you down. I might take your shit. Who's to say? But I don't kill you. I just knock you out gently, put you in the weeds, take your clothes off, to the point where I've literally come back to town and the guy's walking around naked. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't have my clothes. But I came back to this one town. I forgot. I had been like on a journey and a hike. And there was this really cool under blouse or under armor, undercoat, whatever you want to call it, like chest piece that offered me like 90 extra hit protection. And I finally got my horse. I'm coming back to town. I'm going to rest up and do this. And this guy loses his shit. It's you. You've got my piece. I stole it from this guy. I didn't know. And he remembered me. He saw his thing. He's like, that's mine. And so he gets everybody chasing me. And I have
that's why you killed him, Bobby. You killed
That's
him
why I went and got his soup.
No witnesses.
You can't see the soup. Anyway.
No Russian.
I'm having a great time with this. It's so much fun, man. The story has been great. The visuals, the acting, all of it is just hitting hitting for me. I did not have this on my radar at all. My cousin was going to buy it. We have a shared library. I'm like, I'll check it out for free. And 30 hours later, I just can't get enough of it.
I mean, yeah, I did see that trailer when we did our preview, and for whatever reason, I still couldn't put my finger on it. Watching that trailer, I was like, I don't know, this feels like something Bobby would like, and yeah, it turns out you really do.
I like it a whole lot. I think I would even say like this is kind of a genre defining game for me. Like in this open world first person, like you have your Fallouts, you have your Skyrims, you have a Avowed that came out early access today. I think it's gonna be really interesting playing those two. With one like a fantasy versus like kind of a realistic take on that time period. But I am just having a fantastic time with it. It's great.
Very cool.
Who would have thought, man? Stealing Soup. Now, this is from you called it out. We had our monthly preview episode where we went down these games, and I believe this is one that you picked that you have to talk about tonight.
Yep. So I played Seguro Quest Dice Heroes, which is
this is the remake, right?
So it's not a remake really. It's just a port, but they've also given it a fresh coat of paint. This was a Famicom game originally. It came out in Japan, never came out over here.
Got it.
And this release is a port, but it has kind of that Master Chief Collection thing where you can turn on nicer graphics, or you could go back to the original graphics.
I remember that in the trailer. Yeah.
But it's not very different. It's here's there's a little bit more shading. They call it like a 16 or an 8-bit, and I'm like, nah, I wouldn't even call it a 16-bit. Like it's just like slightly more shading on the pixels than before. But I still think it looks fun. It looks charming. Yeah. And the whole point here is that this is an RPG where you pick a hero. You've got 4 different heroes that you can play as. It's a fighter, a dwarf, an elf, or a half elf. And they each have different equipment that they use. The fighter uses a sword. The dwarf uses an axe, a staff, magic staff for the elf, and then a bow for the half elf. And you only get to choose one character at a time, but all 4 are like in your. It's not a party really. It's like you can choose. I'm going to go out as this one character on this mission, and then I can come back.
Are you able to switch them on the fly or not?
Not on the fly. You can switch them when you come back from a quest.
Got it. Okay.
But I think the game really just wants you to choose one and stick with it, because they also kind of give you a lump sum of money at the beginning of the game, and you can go and buy equipment. And it's all kind of this hub and spoke thing where you are in the hub town. It's kind of like a roguelite almost. In that you're in this town, you can buy a bunch of stuff, you can set up your characters, and then you can choose a quest, and you go out and you do that quest. And when you're on a quest, it's kind of like a Mario Party style board game where it's like a game of life board, and you're rolling dice to see how far you move in a very Mario Party style way. And if you land on a blank space, you get into a random battle. If you land on like a watery space, that's like a watering hole that will replenish your health and your magic points.
I'm looking at this now.
There are a couple other like special squares in there where it might be like a pond, or it might be like a place where a woman will make your armor a little bit better or make your weapon a little bit better. There's a castle that you can go in, and that's like a place you have to stop at, and a king will tell you something, or a town where you'll stop in and you might make a decision of, do I want to go fight this thing, or do I want to go run for this thing? And that will change the path on the board game that you go to after that.
Are these like NPCs?
Yeah, but like that's being generous. It's like you go to a town, there's a menu, and the person kind of says a couple lines, but
got it.
It's not like you're walking through a town and you go talk to multiple people. It is the one person that you talk to in town. You make a decision, and then you go back to the board game.
I don't know if you covered this. The skulls. Did you talk about the skulls on the map? I'm seeing a picture of those.
I didn't. Now. The skulls. There's some curse tiles that happen occasionally, and that's kind of the opposite of the watering hole, where it just does some damage to you, and then you keep rolling. So it's got, I think it's got like 9 or 10 different quests that you can go on, and you can keep redoing these quests, and you have to grind these things to be able to afford the better weapons and better armor that allow you to get up to the next level and go do the next quest. Um, but because the characters don't share any equipment, that's why I feel like you probably should really just choose one character and then keep building that character up. Because when you come back with a bunch of money, and I went, okay, hey, I played as the fighter, that was kind of fun. I want to like buy this axe and then go play as the dwarf. You're really just kind of going back to square one, but with a slightly better equipment. And there's also a level up system, so you are going back to level one if you go to a different character.
Are there bosses?
There's a boss at the end of every board game quest, and then even with the first one, it's if you lose against this guy, it actually puts you on a different path in the board game, and you loop around so you don't lose. Whereas some other fights, other quests, you can lose, and you lose. I don't think you lose any of your stuff, but you just don't finish. I think you just don't finish, and you go back to the town. And you have to start that quest over again.
Are you playing this
It's
on your Switch, by the way?
I am, and I'll say it feels like a Famicom game. They did nothing to change the
Yeah.
way this game plays, and it's very simple, but at the same time, it has some kind of esoteric stuff. When you buy equipment in the shop, it doesn't auto equip it. You have to go into a menu and equip that stuff. It it didn't even tell me like what my character had on at the beginning. So when I went into the shop and tried to buy something, thinking like, oh well, that's probably like an upgrade. I just bought the same axe the dwarf had. The dwarf already had. I was like,
Got it.
shit. Okay. So I wasted a little money on up front. And then when you
Is
actually get
is it
into
only on the Switch?
I think so. It might also be on Steam.
Okay.
It might also be on
Oh,
Steam.
it's on
Not
Xbox
sure.
also. Okay, I'm seeing
Is
it
it?
here now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe
PlayStation. It's on everything.
then.
Yeah.
Okay. It's $5. It's not bad. The
I can't tell if you like this or not.
I can't tell either. It's pretty simple. It feels like a game that you're meant to grind a lot over time. I'm sure this would be a lot more fun if I was, pretty young and I had a whole summer to play this game and I could just
Yeah.
kind of keep grinding it out or play it once a day and see how my runs go. Um, but when you're actually playing it, when you get into a battle, you get the options to fight or use magic or flee or use an item. Very kind of Pokemon coded in that way. And when you choose fight, you have a fight die, which goes from 1 to whatever your fight dice max is. And for different characters, like so the fighter better at fighting starts with a better fight die. So you go from like 1 to 3 on the
Got it.
die. The die can be anything from 1 to 3. Whereas you use the half elf, her strength isn't very good to begin with, so her fight die only goes 1 to 2. So she's at a disadvantage because the enemies also
Sure.
have fight die that could go 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 or 1 to 4, up to 6, because it's a die. So you randomly roll what you roll, and then the enemy rolls, and the dice compare to each other. And if you tie, or sorry, I'll save tie for the end. If you
Okay.
win the die roll, so let's say I get a 2 and you get a 1, I attack you once. If I get a 3 and you get a 1, I attack you twice.
Got it. Got it.
And then same thing if you roll a 2 and I roll a 1, or you roll a 3 and I roll a 1.
Does it that way?
You'll take more damage that way. If you tie, then you roll a second die and it goes on top of the first one. And then if you tie again, it goes up again and it goes up again.
Oh, crazy.
But then that's a big combo where you will do attack, based on who actually wins the final die roll, which is kind of cool.
Sure.
And then you also have magic, which you have a list of different magic spells. But when you use those spells, you go to a different die. You have a magic die that can go, depending on your character, 1 to 6. So the fighter, he has a better fight die. He has a worse magic die. So if you are trying to use one of his spells, like healing yourself or throwing a fireball, you have to use probably a worse die, and maybe you'll lose more often, and you'll take more
Sure.
damage. Items can be used pretty freely. Sometimes the game is weird and it's like, oh, you can't use this right now. It's like, I don't know, man, I'm dying. I really could use a health item. Sometimes it just goes, oh, you don't have time for that. You need to keep going, which I found. I'm sure there's a reason to that madness, but I couldn't understand it from the little bit I played. It's kind of neat. It's kind of thin,
Sure. I
but
mean, it's an old game.
I will say, here's maybe the most interesting thing. It just has a bunch of cheats enabled that they've put in there that you can go, yeah, like it's the one thing they really added. It also has save states, but you can just enable some cheats whenever you want. So you can get infinite money or infinite health or one hit kills or I forgot what some of the other ones are, but infinite magic points, I guess. And at some point, I played the first quest 3-4 times and was like, this is kind of cool, and I bought some new weapons the fair way, and I went to
Sure.
the second level and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But then I could feel like myself going, I want to try a new character. I played as the fighter and then I played as the dwarf. It's like, I want to play as the half elf, but I also don't want to grind up a bunch of stuff. Maybe I can just have infinite money for a second, go up a tier of weapons, and start her at the second level instead of having to grind on the first level again. And then when I did that, it gave me infinite money forever.
Oh,
so even when I
shit.
turned it off, I don't have infinite money anymore, but the infinite money that I had from the last time is still there. So now it's just ticking down from the max. I was like, well, shit, that's not exactly what I was looking for. But for a game that I probably only want to give a handful of hours to, and I'm sure most people probably are like, okay, I get the concept. It's nice that you can just turn on some of this stuff and see the full game
Yeah.
without having to go into something that would be
Totally.
like, I grinded this game all summer to see what the fourth board was.
Totally.
And that's kind of interesting to go in and just play with the dice and see what happens, and your characters get better and their dice get stronger, and I think it's got some cool stuff in it. Is it better than Dice Folk? Is it better than Dicey Dungeons? No, because
No. How could it be?
it's just thinner. I mean, those games built upon a lot of different ideas. But I think as far as an old JRPG goes, there's something kind of neat about
Sure.
making
It seems
taking
complicated.
that kind of like taking that abstraction and making the dice rolls that you would see in all sorts of games and just making them more explicit in that you're seeing the literal dice on the screen, and that's kind of cool. So
Nice.
it's fun. Again, it's $5. I think if you want to see a little bit of video game history, go for it. You're not going to hate it, but it's not lighting up the world or anything like that, but it's neat.
Well, I'm glad that you actually got to check out one of those games before they hit the wheel. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we'll hear more about this game from you at any point
Probably
in the year.
not. Probably not. But my pre-order of The Gun Dog also went through today. That game doesn't come out until like the 20th, I think, but the pre-order
that was that like visual novel one, right?
Yeah, the one that looks like a Game Boy. I'm still super jazzed about that one. So
that looks great.
Playing that.
Well, Chase, we've gotten through the games. We talked about a game about digging a hole, Kingdom Come Deliverance II, and Seguro Quest Diced Heroes. Now we can talk about Borderlands 4. All you want.
Oh, thank God. Randy, tell me more.
We're going to talk about the state of play. Let's just get this one out of the way really quick. Sure. They claim that they're scaling back the skibbity toilet humor in this. I don't believe it.
I didn't see that.
I don't think I'm going to be picking this one up, man. I think my time with that series is done.
They put a release date on it too, right? Is it
September? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the thing I noticed from that trailer is that the numbers aren't coming off enemies anymore. When did that happen?
It wasn't the way in 3, unless they just don't have it in the trailer for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can turn that off visually in some of the games if you wanted to, but I mean, that's like one of the only things I like about Borderlands these days. It's I like the numbers coming off the guys. So it
I
just
don't
felt like
know.
nothing to me. I
Yeah.
have no interest in playing this game.
Yeah, man. Like I bounced off the other one really hard. I didn't love two as much as one. And I
Yeah.
just think this is not.
One was just such a cool thing,
It
and it
really
felt
was.
different at the time, and there was so much excitement about it. And two, I think the mechanics of it were a whole lot better, and I really liked the new characters and how they played, um, the playable characters anyway. And
Yeah.
then the story stuff, the handsome Jack stuff, the butt stallion stuff. Is like
Oh,
the getting a
terrible.
little further with Claptrap, and it's like I don't know about this. I think maybe this is not quite where I'm liking it. And then pre-sequel, and then three came out, and I went, nope, nope, Borderlands isn't for me anymore. I don't like
Yep.
this. This is
Aged
bad.
out. Well,
Oh, right, and Tiny Tina coming out in two. I was like, yep, nope, nah,
yeah,
this is
done.
probably. I don't really like the direction this is going. And then look what happened.
Well, for a state of play, you mentioned it was a 40-minute show. There was quite a bit shown off at it. Like just right before we dive too deep into this, like what were your initial thoughts? Like how do you think Sony showed up here? What are you thinking?
I was really impressed. Like, not these are not all Sony games. Obviously, these are coming out on
Right,
PlayStation
right,
if they're
right.
on the state of play. But I think Sony as a studio, who knows? But I think I think as a publisher, I suppose I couldn't tell you, but as like a platform holder, I think they're putting together a pretty solid lineup for this year and into next year as well. I like the mix they had of talking about PlayStation Plus Classics games that are being put into that collection, remake stuff with like Onimusha 2, a game I've never played, but remember reading about in magazines and thinking, man, that game's probably really cool. I should play an Onimusha. And using that, I know that that's mostly Capcom, but still, that's being shown on PlayStation, so I'm giving them the credit here. But using that as a way to market the new Onimusha that's coming out next year.
Big time. Yeah.
Um, I think that's a really cool way to do things. And man, the whole time I was thinking like, man, they should really put Dynasty Warriors 3 out on PlayStation as a classic game. But for whatever reason, Omega Force will never do that. But yeah, I think they have a lot of good genre coverage here. I think they had a lot of cool stuff that they showed off. Um, over a long period of time as well. I think there were games that came out the day that got stealth released during the
Yeah.
state of play. There was stuff that went all the way into 2026. So I think surprisingly, because they kind of just said, oh yeah, by the way, we're doing a state of play, and then put it out. What was it, the next day?
Yep.
So they didn't really get a whole lot of build up to it, and it ended up being what, from my perspective, a pretty impressive show.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. Like there was some stuff that really stood out to me that I thought was super cool. I, I, I
Even the
personally,
games I didn't like were I was still kind of impressed by, like the new Lies of P games. Like, I don't give a shit about Lies of P.
yeah, the DLC
I
for
don't
it.
like Soulsborne kind of games, but like just like it kind of looked impressive. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I walked away from this with, very impressed by. I cannot wait to play Blueprints. I think Blueprints looks incredible.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that name. That's great.
blueprints, like it's
Yeah.
very very smart. It looks like it's going to be a thinker. It looks like it's going to really challenge your.
Yeah, if it's like trying to be like The Room in a
Mhm.
way, I think that's a great way to go. Like something that is, that could be like a new viewfinder kind of game for me, and I'm excited by it.
What did you? I mean, like, not to jump all the way to the biggest thing that people are I'm seeing around here, but with
Yeah.
Saros, like, what do you think about Saros? This is the follow up from the devs that made Returnal. It definitely has
Yeah.
that vibe to it.
Housemark. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm of a couple minds on this. I don't really like shmups, which is what they made before this, and I also didn't give a shit about Returnal. I know you
yeah,
played Returnal and liked it quite a bit, so I'm
yeah,
sure you're more excited about this than I am. But I do think it's kind of sad because there is such an explicit situation where Housemark came out and said, nobody buys the games that we make that we think are cool, so we're gonna sell out and make games that we know you'll buy. And then Returnal came out and people bought it, and they're like, yeah, I guess this is our thing now. And so
Yep.
Saros is kind of like, yeah, I guess we have to make another one of these because it's the
Yeah.
only way we can keep our studio alive.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they go in and they enjoy the work that they're doing, if they found something cool here. But to have them put out that open letter, I forgot what the game, the last one they made was. Was it
I
like a
think
PS?
I thought it was Returnal.
Well, no. I mean the before they made the switch to Returnal.
Oh,
The last shmup style game they made. Was it like a PS4 launch game? I think.
I don't remember, dude.
Yeah, it was like a side scrolling shooter. I remember it, and I remember the people who played it liking it. But it's such a small audience of people who are even interested in those kinds of games to begin with. But we have this situation where a developer did put out that open letter, so it always makes me a little sad to see that they're continuing down the path that they explicitly stated that they didn't want to go down. But
Yeah.
at the same time, game looks kind of cool. I like the
Game looks cool.
visuals,
I like the
uh,
actor.
and it seems like Returnal, a way to bring kind of these shmup like mechanics into a genre that people are more open to.
What did you think about that Shinobi trailer?
I thought that was neat.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to see a little bit more about how that works from a mechanical perspective. Like, is it going to be more arcadey like Shinobi's in the past? Is it going to be more like that Muramasa the Demon Blade that I'm always looking for another game that's like that? I think it has a lot of potential, and I guess I'd like to see it be more of an RPG, but I think it's probably going to be a little bit more in that arcade focus, which is probably what people really want. Um, I just need to
It looks
get off this
fast
idea of
and really stylized. Like I think it has a great look to it.
yeah.
I hope it plays as well as it looks like it would. Like it looks like it has a feel to it. Like the juice is there.
Hmm.
I don't have a lot of reverence for these games, but this one stood out to me. I thought this looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
What's the one that was it Sonic Racing that you were saying got leaked that you got very excited about? Is that the one that you
No,
were?
that was
No,
not the one I was talking about. But I did think Sonic Racing looked pretty cool. Sonic
it
Racing
does.
Cross Worlds.
Yeah,
As we're anticipating this next Mario Kart, and it's interesting to speculate where they'd go because they've done so much with Mario Kart. The carts can fly, and they've got the anti-grav stuff,
they fly
and
now.
there's so many things that they've done with Mario Kart. Where do you take Mario Kart from here? And I think you could say a similar thing about the Sonic racing games. Like they've gone in that
Sure.
direction of, okay, they transform into boats and planes now, and they've done a couple of different things with that. And this idea, I'm actually really excited by what it could be. I think it has a lot of potential. The point here is that the tracks will change, and you will go
Yeah.
into these kind of warp rings that will take you into completely different worlds and raceways. And then I imagine at some point you would warp back to the track that you start on, or maybe you don't. Maybe the tracks finish on a different world. But the idea that I wonder how scripted this is. That's my real question. Is
Sure.
this just kind of a case of every time you can go into this one, or maybe every racer ends up having to go into this warp ring and just goes into a different place? Because at that point, it's just like a fancy change, but it's basically still the same raceway. But if there's branching paths in the thing where, oh, I went to the dinosaur level and you went to the roller coaster level for a little bit, and we're both there for 2 minutes, and then we pop back into this original world, and maybe one way is faster, maybe one way has kind of a shortcut in it, or one way's faster but it has a lot more dangerous elements to it. I think that could be really interesting if
Yeah.
it's organic and dynamic like that. And so I'm really interested to see what they do with that. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, can you imagine if Mario Kart did that? Can you
Well,
imagine like going like, oh, you start in the Mushroom Kingdom and then you like snap into Hyrule at some point, and then oh shit, you're on route whatever in a Pokemon game. Like that could be fucking nuts to like
I
Smash Brothers it like that. That would be so cool.
it's crazy that like I don't want to see a Pokemon driving a car. Like I mean I do, but I'm just shocked we have not gone to any towns from Pokemon. for a Mario Kart level.
Hey, we don't know what the next one holds.
That's true.
The last couple have gotten so many more Nintendo characters in there, like Isabelle and Link, and like the Captain Falcon stuff is starting to come in there. Samus stuff starting to come in there. I
Do
think
you
they
think that
are
they
kind of
dropped the
Smash
Mario
Brothers
Kart and just call it like Nintendo Kart or something like that?
No, because Mario Kart still has such a name cachet.
Yeah.
There's no reason to drop it. You just
Yeah.
keep adding characters in the same way that they've done with the Sonic one. Like
Sure.
the Shenmue guy, Ryu is in there, and
Yes.
Choo Choo Rocket guys are in there. Like you have like a bunch of Sega dudes in the Sonic racing game, but you still call it Sonic because
it's Sonic.
He's fucking Sonic.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
But I thought that was cool.
Tell me about the slop. Tell me about the slop that you're excited for.
Dude, 7 fucking years ago, Bandai Namco put out a tweet that, hey, we're making another Digimon story game. And I'm like, fuck yeah, you are. I love those video games. Give me another one. They are, they're certainly a tier below a Persona game, but I think they had a really cool mix of Persona-like story stuff and Pokemon-style collect them all mechanics.
Yeah.
And I had just had a fantastic time with Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory. And it took them 7 goddamn years to give us a real trailer and an actual title and a release window. It's 2025 at some point, but that's all they're giving us. But yeah, it's Digimon Story Time Stranger. And dude, I'm jazzed.
Yeah.
You're riding your Digimon. It looks cool.
Yeah, this is I was having a hard time, like, was it cinematic? Do you get some gameplay? Because I don't know shit about shit with this stuff, but it's certainly, I see the Persona vibe that you're calling out here, and we did a quick look for one of those games, or maybe it was a Chasey K Plays.
No, we did for Digimon Survive, which was the turn-based strategy game. These are RPGs.
Got it. So when do you think this will come out?
I mean, if they're saying 2025 now, I'm sure it's like October, November, something like that. But it just seems like it's been a long time because I think about when I played Hacker's Memory, and that game is still like very rigid in the places that you can go, and everything is very flat land masses that you're on. And not that the Digimon studio is the same as the Persona studio, but seeing how something like Persona 5 really switched up the dungeon design and made it a lot bigger and more dynamic, and metaphor in a similar fashion. I think I'm really excited about what they could do with a Digimon game. And even just seeing a character ride Garurumon, you're like, oh shit, if you're having mounts in here, maybe we are going to see more bigger areas with more stuff to do in it. And so that stuff excites me about the possibilities. And I just like Digimon. I miss it. I would like to play more Digimon games that are good. And this could be.
Let me ask you this question. So we know the Switch is coming sometime soon. We're a couple months out from the next like in-depth reveal of it. I have to imagine it's going to have the chops to run some of the stuff that we saw today. Are you at a point where you are going to hold off buying things until we know more about the Switch, in the effort that you might be able to play some of the games that in the past didn't come to the Switch?
I mean, I just buy a lot of video games anyway. But yeah, there might be a little bit of that of, I forgot what game they showed. They showed something where it was like, oh, this is coming out on everything but Switch. Actually, it is the Digimon game. Yeah, that's it. Where it was like, oh yeah, this isn't announced for Switch. This is announced for everything else. And it's like, does that mean it could come out on the Switch too, or am I just going to be playing this?
That's what's up. Like, Capcom put out a statement recently where they were like, we need to spend more time with the hardware to see if Monster Hunter will even run on it. And then with the rumors of the mice, the dev behind Civilization was on record saying, like, we're very curious about that. That could be a really cool thing for it. So I think everybody's just kind of waiting for Nintendo to show their cards here. But I know right now, like, Switch is your default. If it's not on the Switch, it goes to your PlayStation. and that's kind of it. But I just wonder if some of that will be, yeah, it's all here now, which I know you would love.
Yeah, I mean, I know at least when it comes to that Digimon game, I want to play that as soon as possible. So if
Yeah,
it's not on the Switch, I'll play it on my PlayStation. But
yeah.
I played Hacker's Memory on the Switch and really enjoyed it. I played Cyber Sleuth on the Vita, and fuck yeah, baby,
There you go.
that's gaming. That's real gaming right there.
Hell
There
yeah.
were a few other games that I thought were kind of interesting, and I wrote some notes down, but I don't remember what some of these are. Do you remember what Tales of Annihilation was?
Tales of Annihilation.
Tales of Annihilation,
I don't.
PS5. Yeah, God,
Oh,
I
this
don't
is
like these.
it kind of reminds me of like a Souls like, right? Like a Bloodborne esque. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this GameSpot article says Stellar Blade meets Arthurian Legend. And it's like I don't like the way you said that, but I
Oh,
thought that
dude.
looked really slick. Like, oh, just the big monsters. Like, as a person who loves Shadow of the Colossus, like seeing these incredibly huge enemies that you're fighting, it just looked like some smooth, cool looking action stuff. I was pretty
Yeah.
impressed by that.
Yeah. It looks great. I don't want to play it, but it looks really nice.
Yeah, I might want to play it. I don't know. I might want to play it.
Sure.
Metal Eden was another one
I
I
thought
wrote
Metal Eden
down that I
looked
thought was
really good.
cool.
Yep.
Trying to remember what that was about. Like, oh
That's like
yeah, kind of
the real fast fucking game.
parkoury, shootery, sci-fi stuff. Yeah, that seemed kind of neat.
Yep.
Um,
It looks really cool.
the last game on my list that I wanted to talk about, not that we have to finish after that, but
Yeah.
it's a game I purchased.
Oh,
Yeah, Bobby, I bought Warriors Abyss.
I was gonna ask you if you did. This is the spinoff from Dynasty Warriors, right?
Yes, Omega
Yeah.
Force has made 2 games in 2 months. It's fucking great. Chase is eating good.
Have you played it yet?
No, I downloaded it on my PS5. I was so ready to play it, and then I I had to go do my taxes tonight, unfortunately, and that didn't
You
leave
gonna
me
fire it up when we
time.
get done?
Probably,
Yeah.
probably. So this is a and it's not a Three Kingdoms game. It's a Warriors game. So it
Yeah.
pulls in some of the Samurai Warriors and some of the other stuff that they've done. But also Dynasty Warriors guys are totally in there. You can play as Lubu. That's all you need
Yeah.
to know. And it's a roguelike. You're going through. You take like an isometric view, and it's very warriors, and that there's tons of enemies on screen, and you're slashing through billions of dudes. But I'm really interested to see how the roguelike mechanics
It
fit
reminds
in
me
here.
of Vampire Survivor, is what it looks like.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so I'm just interested. Like, I always like a game that throws the Three Kingdoms bullshit in there.
Sure.
So if I'm gonna have like a roguelite that puts me in the Yellow Turban Rebellion, fuck yeah, brother. Let's go see what that is.
I really
Who
think this
knows?
is
It
going to
might
be a
be.
Vampire Survivor like.
It could be.
I think it is.
And if it is, I'm totally cool with that. Like,
Yeah.
it just seems like a neat way to play with some of these characters that I love
Sure.
so much. And it's I would love to see even more of this. I mean, I think my ideal game at this point, my dream game that nobody's ever going to make, is Fire Emblem Three Kingdoms. That's the one I want. And
Yeah.
they got so close. They were one word off.
Yep.
Fire Emblem Three Houses was almost there.
Yeah.
But the idea of like getting to play a turn-based strategy game
Hang on a second.
with some of those
Hang on.
guys.
I do not mean to cut you off here, but
Yeah, go for
is
it.
this saying that there are 16 billion battle styles in this game?
There's some bullshit like that.
16
Yeah, I have to
billion?
imagine it's. I think it gets into the case where you have we have so many playable characters, and they can equip so many different kinds of weapons, and
Oh yeah.
the kinds of items in there that like I can't say the word. Can't say the word.
Multiply?
No, but it's like when something goes up multiplicatively. That's the word I'm looking for.
That was a lot.
You start getting into that kind of exponential growth where it's the same bullshit when Borderlands
Oh,
says
I
we
know why
have
you like this.
billions of guns. It's like, yes, technically you do, because some of them can have different scopes or different laser sights or different bullshit on it. But you really just made like one little tweak and you're letting the algorithm slap stuff together and say, yes, we have 10 million guns. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
You like it because the numbers go off the bodies when you hit it.
I do like that.
Yeah.
I definitely do like that. So it's already better than Borderlands.
It doesn't take much.
I'm a little bit worried that this is going to have a bunch of pay to win elements to it. There's always that chance with Koei Tecmo kind of games. And
sure.
or at the very least, like a billion costumes that all cost a bunch of money, like Dead or Alive games would have. So we'll see. I did buy it though, and I'm looking forward to reporting back on.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about it. Maybe next week you can run us through what you saw there.
I hope so.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try and get my snotty ass off this podcast here, Chase. We've had a fun week.
Before you do, I did want to ask about the first game they showed, which was Monster Hunter, which is just about to come out. But they did show off the first update, which is I've played with this monster, Mitsuzune or something like that.
Yeah, Mitsuzune. I love that monster so much. It's great.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite fights. They put the bubbles and everything that go out around it. It's a really fun fight.
I remember it as a Monstie from Monster Hunter.
I know you don't want to hear this, but that game has the fucking sauce, man.
It looks good. It looks good. I don't want to play it, but it looks good.
This one, if there was ever one to dip your toe into, it would be this one. Like this is
not gonna get caught by that again.
It's the most.
You've said that exact same line for a number of Monster Hunters now.
That's what we all say. There's dozens of us. No, that is something that we're going to be playing in pretty heavy rotation on Casual Fridays at the end of this month moving forward. But I was really excited that they've already how could they not add more to it? Like that game is absolutely going to be on multiple Game of the Year list. I think it just looks too good at this point. I'm glad we did this week. I know it was kind of up in the air for a second. I don't feel great, but I feel better talking to you about games. I felt great Monday night when we did our second installment of Dead in the Water. We uncovered quite a bit that night. We made a pretty good
found a lot of bodies. I don't think we learned a lot, but we
identified 3 people for sure, and we are we are like one name away from getting 3 more. So I feel really good about that. We'll be back on Monday with it. We have the podcast tonight, and then tomorrow, if I feel better, which I think I'll be up for it, I'm going to do a 10 a.m. stream, Chase, for a little Valentine's Day gift for you all. But that's the plan right now for us here. You can follow along with all the fun stuff right there in chat. Why don't you tell everybody what you got going on?
Sure. There was a new episode of Chase K Plays that came out today, and I forgot to tweet about it, or skeet about it again, because work got in the way, but there is a new episode. Go check that out. I'm playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 in a series called Go Play Star Wars, and I'm also very excited about next week's episode. So I'm going to have a pretty cool guest. Wonder who it could possibly be.
A big old dork.
It's Bobby.
A scruffy nerf herder.
Yes, there you go. So we had a lot of fun, so look forward to that next week.
I hope I get to come back sometime.
I also hope you get to come back sometime.
It's easier to have somebody with you when you're doing that. Like
it always is, and especially when it's somebody as knowledgeable about the source material as Bobby is,
and a friend.
And a friend, yes. So that was a lot of fun. Very cool. Go watch, go play a Star War. It's
just $10. Go watch a Star War, play a Star War.
And then I've got another podcast that I do with a good friend of the show, Pierce Corshane. It's called Pilot Program, where Pierce and I watch the first episodes of every television show ever made. We recorded a new episode earlier this week with a guest, not Bobby this time,
not me,
but we watched the TV show Barry, the HBO show, and
such a show.
2/3 of us had seen all of Barry, and 1/3 of us, Pierce, had not seen much Barry. So it was cool to see his early takes on it, and for my guest Justin and I to kind of talk more about the show.
That's great.
Broadly. Had a great time, and I'm weighing if I'm ready to rewatch all of Barry, and I'm thinking about it, buddy. I'm thinking about it. That's a good show.
Yeah, it's a great show.
So that I'm still editing that episode. It should be out probably early next week. And then I suppose I'll just announce it because who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Our next episode is going to be on Columbo. I'm so excited to watch.
Oh, awesome! That's cool, man. That'll be. I
love Peter Falk, and I've watched parts of a lot of Columbo, but sitting down, watching the first Columbo, I'm pretty jazzed. So
that's great, man.
Shows.acast.com/pilot program. Go check out all the stuff we've got going on over there.
Awesome, man. Everybody, thanks for putting up with my snotty ass tonight. Chase, thanks for breaking down the games in the state of play. We will be back tomorrow, Friday, the